Have you watched the previous episode's video? Welcome to the story of this episode, Chapter 32, The Coveters of the Mysterious Power. With a heart full of gains, Sumu carefully put away the spiritual comprehension canon and was about to leave this room full of surprises to continue exploring the castle and find the teleportation gate. However, just as he turned to step out of the room, a powerful and evil aura suddenly came from outside the castle. 紧接着, a series of noisy footsteps and spiritual power fluctuations quickly approached his location. Alarmed, Sumo immediately became vigilant. He quickly circulated his spiritual power and got his whole body ready for battle. No sooner had he made his preparations than a group of mysterious people in black robes appeared at the door of the room. These people were shrouded in black robes, and their faces were not visible. Only the greedy and fierce glints in their eyes could be seen, like a pack of hungry wolves that had spotted their prey. "Hand over what you've got," the leading black-robed man said in a low and hoarse voice, with an unquestionable command in his tone, as if Sumu had no room for resistance. Sumu was puzzled. How did these people know that he had obtained a mysterious inheritance? But there was no time for him to think. He tightly grasped his spiritual power long sword and said fearlessly, "I don't know what you're talking about. I explored this place through my own efforts, and you have no right to ask for anything." His eyes were firm as he stared back at the black-robed man without flinching. The black-robed man sneered and said, "Humph, don't play dumb. We've been keeping an eye on the movements of this plane. Ever since you repaired the spiritual power core and triggered such a powerful spiritual power fluctuation, we knew there must be some precious item emerging. Be sensible and hand it over obediently, or don't blame us for being ruthless." As the black-robed man spoke, he took a step forward, and the evil spiritual power emanating from him became even stronger. Sumu understood that these black-robed people were clearly coveting the mysterious inheritance he had just obtained. He knew the importance of this inheritance and must not let it fall into the hands of these ill-intentioned people. "If you want the inheritance, then let's see if you have the ability." Sumo roared angrily and launched the first attack. Sumo waved his spiritual power long sword, and a sharp sword ki shot towards the leading black-robed man. The sword ki, like a bolt of lightning, instantly cut through the air and rushed towards the black-robed man with a powerful spiritual power fluctuation. Seeing this, the black-robed man calmly raised his arm, and a black spiritual power shield instantly appeared in front of him, easily blocking Sumu's sword ki. The sword ki hit the shield, bursting out with a dazzling light, but the shield remained intact. "Is that all you can do? You still dare to resist?" the black-robed man taunted. Then he waved his hand, and the black-robed men behind him followed suit. They spread out and surrounded Sumu. Despite being in the encirclement, Sumu showed no sign of panic. He quickly observed the positions and movements of the black-robed men around him, looking for an opportunity to break through. Suddenly, he circulated his reverse. Time's spiritual power and the time flow rate around him instantly slowed down. The movements of the black-robed men also became sluggish. Seizing this opportunity, Sumu rushed towards a weak point in the encirclement. The spiritual power long sword in his hand shone brightly, and he repelled several black-robed men in a row, successfully tearing open a gap. However, the other black-robed men quickly reacted and gathered around again, surrounding Sumo once more. "Want to run? Not so easy," a black-robed man roared. He condensed a ball of black spiritual power flame in his hand and threw it towards Sumo. Sumo quickly sidestepped, and the flame flew past his body, leaving a scorched mark on the ground. During the intense battle, Sumu noticed that the spiritual power attributes of these black-robed men were very strange, different from any enemies he had encountered before. Their spiritual power seemed to have a corrosive property. Once it came into contact with his spiritual power shield, it would make a hissing sound trying to erode the shield. Sumu knew that this couldn't go on like this. He had to find the weaknesses of these black-robed men as soon as possible to defeat them. While fending off their attacks, he carefully observed the way they circulated their spiritual power. After some observation, he noticed that every time a black-robed man launched an attack, there would be a brief charging movement, and their spiritual power seemed to converge at the position of their chests. An idea occurred to Sumu. he decided to take a risk. When a black-robed man launched an attack again, Sumo deliberately showed a flaw to lure the black-robed man closer. Just as the black-robed man thought he had succeeded and was about to deliver a fatal blow to Sumo, Sumo suddenly activated his reverse, time spiritual power, causing the black-robed man's movement to stop instantly. Then, he quickly rushed forward and stabbed his spiritual power long sword towards the black-robed man's chest. The long sword pierced the black-robed man's chest. The black-robed man let out a scream, and his body trembled violently. Seeing this, the other black-robed men surrounded him, trying to rescue him. Taking this opportunity, Sumo pulled out his long sword, activated his reverse, time spiritual power again to slow down the time flow rate around him, and then rushed towards the outside of the castle. Sumo knew that in this narrow room, it was difficult for him to exert his full strength. He had to find a more open place to fight these black-robed men better. Moreover, he was worried that the black-robed men had other tricks up their sleeves. Continuing to be trapped here was extremely disadvantageous to him. Sumo rushed towards the outside of the castle like a gust of wind, with the black-robed men hot on his heels. As they chased, they continuously fired black spiritual power beams towards Sumo. The beams rained down on Sumo. Sumo was agile, shuttling through the corridors of the castle, deftly dodging the attacks. The walls and the ground behind him were hit by the spiritual power beams, leaving charred marks. "Don't let him get away! We must get the thing back!" The leading black-robed man roared angrily and quickened his pace of pursuit. The black-robed men were like black phantoms, moving rapidly in the castle. They seemed quite familiar with the terrain of the castle, which made it even more difficult for Sumo to escape. Sumo knew that he couldn't keep fleeing passively. He needed to find an opportunity to counter-attack. While running, he noticed a spacious courtyard ahead. The open space there was conducive to his use of various spiritual power spells. So, Sumo didn't hesitate and rushed towards the courtyard. When Sumo rushed into the courtyard, the black-robed men followed closely behind. They spread out in a fan-shaped formation and surrounded Sumo again. Standing in the center of the courtyard, Sumo looked calm. He concentrated his spiritual power on his feet and stomped hard. The ground cracked instantly, and a series of spiritual power spikes protruded from the ground, stabbing towards the black-robed men. The black-robed men quickly activated their spiritual power shields to resist. However, Sumo's attack didn't stop there. Taking advantage of the moment when the black-robed men were blocking the spiritual power spikes, he circulated his reverse. Time spiritual power and the time flow rate slowed down again. Sumo quickly rushed towards a black-robed man. The long sword in his hand shone with a sharp light as he stabbed it towards the opponent's throat. The black-robed man, affected by the reverse, time spiritual power, reacted slowly. As the long sword was about to stab him, another black-robed man quickly rushed over and blocked Sumo's attack with a black staff in his hand. With a loud clang, sparks flew, and Sumo's arm felt slightly numb. The black-robed man took the opportunity to launch a counterattack. Black spiritual power surged out from the top of the staff, transforming into a huge black wolf shadow that pounced towards Sumo. Sumo quickly retreated and at the same time condensed a layer of spiritual power shield in front of him. The wolf shadow hit the shield, causing the shield to shake violently, and Sumo was pushed back several steps by the impact. Sumo didn't flinch at all. He concentrated, deeply integrated his reverse, time spiritual power with his own spiritual power, and then rushed towards the wolf shadow. The moment he came into contact with the wolf shadow, the long sword in Sumo's hand burst out with a powerful light. With a powerful wave, he actually split the wolf shadow in half. The wolf shadow dissipated into black smoke in the air. Seeing this, the faces of the black-robed men changed slightly. They didn't expect that Sumo could unleash such a powerful force in such a fierce battle. The leading black-robed man waved his hand, and the other black-robed men immediately understood. They began to move quickly around Sumo. Their figures formed a black whirlpool around Sumo, constantly putting pressure on him. Sumo, in the center of the whirlpool, felt the powerful pressure coming from all directions. He knew knew that these black-robed men wanted to consume his spiritual power in this way and then defeat him in one fell swoop. Sumo decided to take the initiative and break this situation. Sumo closed his eyes, concentrated all his mental energy, and sensed the spiritual power fluctuations of the black-robed men. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, and a flash of light passed through them. He seized the opportunity and rushed towards one direction of the whirlpool. The moment he rushed out, he released the integrated spiritual power, forming a powerful spiritual power shockwave. The spiritual power shockwave was like a cannonball, exploding among the black-robed men. The black-robed men were caught off guard by this sudden attack. Many of them were knocked flying by the shockwave and fell to the ground. Taking this opportunity, Sumo broke free from the encirclement of the black-robed men and ran towards another direction of the castle. The black-robed men quickly regained their senses and continued to chase Sumo. This intense chase continued in the castle. Sumo had to dodge the attacks of the black-robed men while looking for an opportunity to get rid of them. The black-robed men, on the other hand, were determined to take back the mysterious inheritance in Sumo's hands. Neither side was willing to give up easily. Sumo knew that he had to get rid of these black-robed men as soon as possible and find a teleportation gate to leave this plane. Otherwise, if he was entangled by them for too long, he might fall into an even more dangerous situation. At the same time, he was also curious about the identities and purposes of these black-robed men. What kind of organization were they? Why were they so interested in the inheritance of this plane? These questions lingered in his mind, waiting for him to uncover the answers. The story continues. More exciting content is yet to come. Subscribe as soon as possible.